Good evening, friends. So before I start posting videos on data flow task, which forms the basic core of the extract, transform and load part of the SSIS, uh, for which the SSIS is primarily made or intended as a product. So before I start getting into the details and start posting the video articles, the important prerequisite I feel which I need to share with my subscribers is that how as a developer I can actually debug the data, by which I mean is when a data is extracted from a source, heterogeneous source, and then transformed and then loaded to a destination. In between, as a developer, if I perform some amount of a transformation, I would like to know in the development environment itself if my data is properly being transformed and it's going to be loaded in the fashion I want it to be in the destination. So there has to be a way which by which I can come to know. So SSIS has a very simple yet very effective way of performing such kind of debugging for you. So basically we would be discussing that here in this video. This video is about the data viewer functionality or the debugging feature which is available in SSIS for the data flow task. So what I have here is a very simple SSIS package which is having a very simple data flow task, and which loads data from your adventure works database. And the table, I would say, yeah, and the table is production transaction history, which is, I'll just try to elaborate on the table. It's actually the table which is having AdventureWorks 2008 R2 database. It's having the transaction histories about the various product IDs and the quantity of item that was booked, along with the transaction dates and other details. And so this table, we are trying to get the details from this table and populate it into a flat file destination. The flat file destination is a text file actually, and a delimited text file which is, if you will, at the at the desktop, which is having the pump output.txt name. So this is currently an empty one, so that data will be pumped out. And in between, what we have here is a very simple transformation. That's a derived column transformation. I'll be explaining that in my later videos. Currently I just wanted to show the data viewer functionality, so I needed some kind of a transformation there. So I'll just what I have done is I have created a new derived column which is being derived from the expression, which is the order volume column, which is actually using this expression, which is using the quantity column. That is, if the quantity is less than 6, it'll populate the value as of the order volume as small. If it is between 6 and 10, when less than 11, that's 10, it'll populate the value of order volume as medium or otherwise large. So these are and based upon this expression, you will have your derived column order volume getting populated. So okay, so that's the simple data flow task that we have here, and that's getting mapped. So now let's come to the main essence of this video. That's the data viewers. If you right click on your control flow, when the predecessors, you will find and you'll find an option called data viewers. If you click on that, what and go to the data viewers tab, what you have here is I have certain 4 kinds of data viewers. Usually in SSIS we have 4 kinds of data viewers that you can configure or add. So if you wish to add, you can just say add a data viewer, and it'll simply give you an option. That's the 4 that you have. That's grid, histogram, scatter plot, and the column chart. So these are the four different, you could say, data viewer options that you have. We'll come to it. Let's see what all I have configured. The first one is the grid one. uh, if you click on configure, what you have is grid populates the data similar to, I mean, query that you write on a SQL server. That's it's in the grid format, so the data will be populated on the grid format before running, before as the control, I mean, as the control flows from the data load. So it will populate all these columns. If you wish to configure, I mean, configure lesser columns, you can just negate this. If you need some specific ones, I'm just putting all the columns available there. Next we have histogram. Histogram is actually similar to what we have studied in our maths. It's a histogram graph that you, if you will, it's a histogram graph, and it actually is used for numeric values, valued columns only, and it'll be populating the graph for one of the columns that is a numeric type, I mean, of int or a numeric type. So that I have selected here a quantity column, which will be populating the histogram graph for. And so the next we have is a scatter plot, which uses two columns, both of them numeric type, remember. So and in an x and a y axis, it's a graph of a maths wherein x and y coordinates, and based upon that it'll be populating a graph for you, and of both of which should be of numeric type. So if you say in x axis I have said product ID, and on y axis I have said quantity, I mean, product ID against the quantity for each of the products, how many quantity of how many items were sold. So that's what I want to know here. So that's one data viewer. And the next one is, I have configured all the four for you, but you can, I mean, as per your need. Generally what we use is a grid, of course, to see. The next one is the column chart. If you look at the column chart, you can use a non-numeric column as well, but you can use one column. So what I have shown here is a transaction date. It'll show the transaction dates when these products were sold, based upon the transaction history table. So I have selected that column. Okay, so that's the configuration part. You say okay. So now you see if when the data is getting loaded from the source, and before it hits the derived column transformation, that is just after the load, you will see all these four data viewers that we have configured. The next is after the transformation occurs, that is after the quantity and order volume mapping is done. We want to see order volume mapping with respect to the quantity column is done. We want to see, okay, is the value being flashed, I mean, is the value being populated as per our expression that we have in there, like the large, small, and the medium that we have configured. Is that getting populated with respect? So we have configured one more data viewer after the transformation to see. Okay, this is a simple one. We just have configured one grid type, and we have said, okay, what all we want is order volume, and we have also added, and we have the quantity, so that we can actually see if that matches our expression or not. You can again remove or add the columns. I have selected all of them for now, so it's up to you. So based upon that, we will have this. Now what we are going to do is run this package. If we are trying to run this package, it'll be simply loading the data for all the, and in between it'll allow us to see the data viewers. Now let's simply run this. Okay, so if you see, this is the scatter plot, which has quantity and product ID on the x-axis and the quantity of items sold. You can see blue dots scattered across. Remember this the data that you will see will be only for a sample and not the complete all the records, as the sample is the total number of rows. If you see, it's flashing as 9 830 rows. So it's in the buffer, and based upon that it will be populating the graph. If you want to see the next buffer, you just play it. You just select the play. Okay, this was the scatter plot, which is having two coordinates x and y. Next one is your column, which is having only a one quantity. So this will create a bar column graph for you. And okay, this is your grid. So as you can see, this is having the entire data of all the columns in the grid format, quantities and everything, all the columns that you want. So that's the one. If we play this, it'll again populate you. Right. Now this, if you play, this is the controller actually. If you play this, it'll flash the next data viewer. I mean, after the transformation that has occurred. If you see, the order volume column is being populated now with respect to the quantity. Right. So for 10 we have it as medium. So this populates the other one. If you close this, it just proceeds and populates the data for entirely and pumps it out. So if you look at our, we do not have the quantity column populated, mapped and populated. So if you just take a look at the pumped out file, you will find the derived column being populated. So let's just clean this once again and show you a very quick reminder, I mean, what we have done. So what we have done is added few data viewers, and we are trying to just see the data at the runtime. What data, sample of data, I mean not the complete data. So if you just take a look, this is this XY axis scatter plot, right? This is our column, this is our grid, and this is your, I think I have histogram. Just let me just, I'm not sure if now let's rerun this. Right, now if you see, this is the histogram. This is the histogram which is having the transaction date. Based upon the transaction date, you have the number of records, quantities. So if you just go, you'll see the transaction date and the sold quantity. So these are the 4 data viewers that you can see. You have to configure it at the runtime, and also if you're just trying to once you develop your package, and even if you have them configured, you deploy it, it will not be working in your once your data it's deployed in the MSDB or your SQL Server file system deployment. So it's specifically for your runtime, for the help of your for the developers, and based upon that, developers can gather some insights about the data being loaded and transformed. So this is a great debugging tool for as far as data flow tasks are concerned. So thank you, friends. Now we'll be in the further videos we'll be getting to know about all the transformations that we have while the data load occurs from the various sources to destinations. So stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot.